Christmas morning is supposed to feel warm, right? The smell of cinnamon rolls, the sound of kids laughing, wrapping paper everywhere. Instead, I got frost before I even stepped inside. I pulled up to my parents' house with my kids in the back seat, their faces lit up with excitement. My son had spent days practicing a little Christmas poem. He wanted to surprise Grandma. My daughter clutched a picture she had drawn, all of us together by a fireplace, little cotton balls glued on for snow. They were bouncing with questions. Would Grandpa wear his reindeer tie? Would Grandma clap when the poem was finished? We parked right on time, just before 10. The porch light was glowing even though it was daytime, and the street was quiet under heavy snow clouds. I knocked on the door, same as always. Nothing. For a moment, it was like no one was home. Then I saw a curtain twitch upstairs. A pause. Finally, the door creaked open just an inch, and there was my mom's face. No smile. No, Merry Christmas. Just this flat, cold line, today's not a good day for your kind of energy. I swear the words hung in the air like smoke. My daughter's grip on her drawing tightened. My son frowned, trying to process. I didn't argue, didn't ask why. I just took their hands and said quietly, come on. Let's go get pancakes. 10 minutes later, we were sitting in a little diner off Route 9, the kind with sticky menus and holiday tinsel strung half-heartedly along the walls. The waitress must have sensed something, because she piled on extra whipped cream without asking. My kids didn't say much. They just ate their waffles, occasionally glancing out the window like they were waiting for something that wasn't going to come. That's when my phone buzzed. My brother. His voice was sharp, panicked. What the hell, man? Why did you cancel Jenny's lease? I froze. What? He repeated it, angrier this time, said the leasing office called that morning, said the co-signer had backed out. My sister's lease was dead. And apparently, I was the co-signer. But I hadn't signed anything. I told him that. He didn't believe me. He said she'd already packed boxes, already given notice at her old place. Now she was stuck, and apparently, it was all my fault. He called me a liar. Selfish. And then he hung up. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat at my laptop, heart pounding. I combed through my email history, searching every corner. And there it was, a message I'd ignored weeks earlier because the subject looked like spam. Forward. Verification required. Urgent. Inside was a PDF. My name. My details. My signature. A cancellation form. Except, I had never signed it. I dug into the metadata. Hidden in the file was an IP address. A quick search told me everything I needed. The IP was tied to their zip code. More than that, it belonged to a residential address on their street. That's when the puzzle snapped into place. My mother had forged the cancellation. She had posed as me, pulled out of the lease at the last second, and made sure I'd take the blame. Suddenly, that closed door made sense. Her calm expression. She hadn't wanted me there because she knew the bomb was about to go off. And then, I saw the pattern. The years of little jabs, the quiet blame shifting, the way every fight somehow circled back to me being the problem. They never had to say it outright. But it was crystal clear now. I wasn't family anymore. Not to them. And this time, they didn't even bother to pretend. The days after Christmas felt hollow. Not the kind of silence where everyone's just busy with their own lives. No, this was calculated. Staged. No, Merry Christmas, did the kids like their gifts? Text from my mom. No, thanks for coming by, from Jenny. Nothing. Just my brother lighting up my phone with anger. First message, I seriously don't get what you're trying to prove. Then another, you knew she needed that place. You just didn't care. And the kicker, hours later, honestly, this is just like you, always pretending you're better than us. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because I already knew the truth. I'd scrolled through the leasing office emails again and again, zoomed in on that fake signature until my eyes blurred, checked the IP address one more time just to be sure. It wasn't a mistake. My mother had forged my name, submitted that cancellation as if it were me. And that's when it hit me, it wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy. She had asked me for little details months back, playing it off as needing help with utilities. Just enough info to fill out a lease form and a cancellation form, perfectly in my name. And the timing? Too clean. My brother blowing up my phone minutes after Jenny supposedly got the call? That wasn't coincidence. That was coordination. They had talked about it. Planned it. I didn't confront her. Didn't beg for an explanation. I just shifted gears. See, before my dad passed, he'd set up inheritance accounts for each of us. Strict rules, locked until a milestone. First kid. Marriage. Buying a home. When the milestone came, I was supposed to release the funds. And I was the executor, because Dad trusted me. Not because I asked for it. But because he knew I wouldn't blow it on a boat or a gambling spree like the others. Jenny's milestone was now. The lease she wanted? It was tied to that money. She had even emailed me back in October, saying she'd need her share come January. I hadn't processed it yet. But after Christmas morning? I logged into the portal, flagged her account, slapped "review required" on it, and yanked every dispersal permission she had. No warning. No explanation. Just, gone. Then came my brother. Oh, he'd been crowing about his little boutique renovation startup since Thanksgiving. Wanted to use his inheritance as collateral for a loan. He'd been pestering me nonstop for a verification letter. I even had a draft saved. I opened it, stared at it for a second, then deleted every word. After that, I reset his account access, stripped his permissions, and left the balance sitting there untouched. Let the bank tell him no. And you know what? It didn't feel petty. It felt surgical. Precise. Because for years, I had been the fixer. The reliable one. The brother who co-signed when another totaled his car. The one who covered Jenny's missed payments. The one who patched up every mess my mom stirred just to keep the peace. But not anymore. They had made it clear, loud and clear, that I wasn't family. I was a utility. A tool. Something to use until it broke. So I stopped playing along. And for the first time in years, I let them feel the consequences. By the time January rolled around, I already knew where I stood with them. Still, when that group text from mom popped up, it was like someone twisting a knife with a smile. Hope everyone's easing into the new year. Miss seeing you all. I didn't type a single word. Just stared at the screen as the little reactions rolled in. My brother tossed in a thumbs up. Jenny sent a red heart. I gave nothing. Then came the phone call. I let it ring. Straight to voicemail. Her voice sounded soft, rehearsed. Just wondering how you all are. Haven't heard from you since Christmas. Hope we didn't do something to upset you. Didn't do something. That line. It was textbook mom. The passive innocence, the fake worry, the little performance of confusion while she's still holding the match she lit. She didn't know I'd already flipped the locks. Quietly. No shouting, no scenes. Just a new rule, no more walking through my life uninvited. And I had no plans of opening those doors again. A week passed. Silence. Jenny stayed quiet. My brother stayed quiet. Until another text came, this time just to me. I feel like something's wrong. Can we talk? I didn't answer. Then the email came. Subject line, inheritance accounts. From Jenny. She wrote like none of it had happened. Said she found a cheaper place, new lease, deadline coming up. Attached a photo of the agreement like it was supposed to tug me into action. I archived it. 2 days later, another email, this one sharper. Just checking on the transfer. The manager needs confirmation. I don't understand why you're ghosting me. That one I deleted without opening. The weekend came, and so did my brother. The knock was fast, deliberate, like he was trying to make a point through the wood. I checked the peephole. There he was, jeans, a thin coat that didn't belong in January, clutching a manila envelope. When I cracked the door, he didn't say hi. Didn't even breathe. He just shoved the envelope forward. This is the letter for the loan application. They need it this week. I told him he could leave it in the mailbox. The look he gave me, like I'd physically struck him. I drove across town. You could at least talk to me. I stayed silent. He lingered, waiting for something that wasn't coming, then finally dropped the envelope in the box and left without another word. I never touched it. The rain did its work. By the end of the week, the paper had turned to mush. I let it rot. And then, slowly, the cracks showed. Jenny's new place collapsed. She posted a half-bitter, half-sarcastic rant on Facebook about people who pretend to help but vanish when it counts. My brother's loan fell through. I knew because he applied at the same bank where I used to work. A friend in lending slipped it into conversation, said the deal blew up when he couldn't verify the collateral. Then came mom's attempt. A box at my doorstep. Inside, cookies sealed in plastic wrap, a framed picture of me as a kid with my first bike, and a note on top. Hope this reminds you where you come from. I tossed the photo into the closet and the cookies into the trash. Because I knew exactly where I came from. And that's why I wasn't going back. The truth is, they thought I was punishing them. They really believed I was lashing out, wounded, throwing some kind of tantrum. But they were wrong. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was finished reacting. What I was doing wasn't explosive, it was surgical. A slow, steady cut, one thread at a time. For years, they had leaned on my silence, counted on my predictability, my refusal to make a scene. I was the spare part they always assumed would keep working no matter how many times they used me. But the math had been done a long time ago. I just never pulled the trigger. Not until they handed me the perfect excuse. They wanted to play games. They forgot, I could play, too. Only difference? I wasn't playing to win. I was playing to end it. By mid-February, the silence I gave them was louder than anything I could have shouted. Jenny's third email landed like a slap. Gone was the fake politeness. Now she was spitting accusations, calling me cruel, manipulative, insisting I was destroying her life on purpose. She said I had a superiority complex. And then she dragged Dad into it. He'd be ashamed of you. That line made me laugh out loud. Because Dad? Dad would have seen it exactly for what it was. He knew them better than they ever realized. I didn't bother answering. I didn't need to. That same week, I got a call I didn't expect, my brother's ex. We hadn't spoken in over a year. She said he was spiraling. The loan had collapsed, rent on the warehouse was overdue, his so-called renovation startup was crumbling before it even began. She asked if I could just talk to him, not help, not lend, just talk. I told her no. Flat, simple. I wasn't interested. She said she understood. And that was the end of it. Then the unraveling began in earnest. Jenny moved back in with Mom. She framed it online like some heartwarming reunion, life throws curveballs, but family catches you. Cute caption. But I knew better. That house wasn't safety. It was a nest where they sharpened their knives, where every story could be twisted until the truth bled out. And beneath Mom's calm mask, I could feel the panic. She started forwarding me emails from her church group, smiling quotes about forgiveness, family, Bible verses she'd never once lived by. I ignored every single one. Then came her boldest move yet. A voicemail. Her voice, careful and coaxing. I've been thinking about rewriting my will, just want to make sure everything is fair. Maybe you could come over for lunch, we'll talk. There it was. The bait. The trap. The lure back into the role, the dutiful son, the problem solver, the one who takes the high road while everyone else burns bridges behind him. But I wasn't interested in their road anymore. I was laying my own. What she didn't realize. Dad had already taken care of the real will years ago. Quietly. Privately. The house she flaunted wasn't fully hers at all, it was in a trust, split 3 ways. My third was locked in, untouchable. She couldn't erase me if she tried. And still, I had no intention of ever claiming it. I was waiting for the moment when they'd finally see the truth. That I wasn't bluffing. That I wasn't angry. I was just done. The hardest part? My kids. They started asking questions again, gentler this time. My daughter asked if we could go see Grandma, just for a minute. My son wondered out loud if maybe things had changed, if maybe they missed us now. I had to look them in the eye and tell them the truth. We don't visit people who lie. We don't visit people who hurt others just to cover their own mistakes. And most importantly, I paused, letting it sink in. We don't visit people just because they're family. It broke their hearts a little. I could see it. But they listened. And that's when I knew, the cycle had finally stopped with me. By March, the last card was played. Mom sent me a long message, dripping with self-pity. She said she didn't know what she'd done wrong, that she missed her grandchildren, that she hoped I would find peace. But there was no apology. Not a single word admitting to the lies, the forgery, the years of manipulation. Just vague, sugar-coated lines designed to make me look like the unreasonable one, dragging out some misunderstanding. She still didn't get it. There would be no return. No reunion. No magical moment of reconciliation at some dinner table. This wasn't a grudge. This was a divorce. And I was done being married to people who only knew how to love when they were the ones holding the reins. Spring came early that year. The snow melted overnight and flowers exploded across every yard like fireworks. To most, it probably felt like renewal, a fresh start. But to me, it felt like relief. Like chains finally slipping off. I wasn't checking my phone anymore. I wasn't bracing myself for the next guilt trip. I wasn't waiting for their excuses. I was gone. But they weren't done. April. The call came from the elementary school office, and the voice on the other end sent a chill straight through me. The secretary told me my mom had tried to pick up my daughter. Claimed there was a family emergency, said she was taking her home. She didn't have pickup authorization. Didn't even have her name on the list. They stopped her before she could sign a single paper. I dropped everything, took an early lunch, and sped to the school. My daughter was safe, but confused. She told me Grandma had said I was making a mistake, that she needed to come stay, just for a few days. I sat down with the principal right there and signed new paperwork, stripping every extended family member off the emergency contact list. Then I blocked my mother's number on both of my kids' phones. When they asked why, I gave them the only answer that mattered, because I love you. Because I'm protecting you. And that was the turning point. Up until then, I had been stepping away. Quiet. Controlled. No drama. But when she tried to use my kids, when she tried to drag them into her games, that wasn't distance anymore. That was war. I didn't call her. I didn't scream or demand answers. I didn't give her the satisfaction. I called my lawyer. I told him I wanted to update my will. Everything, every dime, every asset, would go directly to my kids. And more importantly, I wanted a clause written in iron, no guardianship, not to any blood relative, not to a single person from either side of the family. I gave him the whole story. Every ugly piece. He didn't even flinch. Didn't look surprised. Just nodded slowly and said, "I've seen worse." And in that moment, I realized, what had once been my family was now just a cautionary tale. The final blow landed quicker than I expected. One morning, I got an alert from the bank, flagged transaction attempt. My brother had gone behind my back again. This time, he tried to use his inheritance account as collateral for another loan. But he didn't stop there. He'd forged a letter, a fake verification document, complete with my digital signature pulled from some old email attachment. That was it. I called the bank immediately, laid everything out, and had them file a fraud report. Within 48 hours, his account was frozen. And not just his, Jenny's, too. The trust clauses were clear, any misuse, any fraudulent attempt, and I had the authority to lock them down permanently. And I did. No more milestones. No more withdrawals. No more second chances. It was over. Then I drafted a certified letter to my mother's house. Not emotional. Not angry. Just factual. I attached copies of the fraud report, the school incident, and the trust termination paperwork. At the bottom, I ended with one sentence. "You will not be part of our lives again." 2 days later, she showed up at my house. This time, I didn't even open the door. I called the police. She never made it past the driveway. The officer issued her a formal trespass warning. They said she cried, claimed she didn't understand, insisted she was just trying to fix things. But she wasn't fixing anything. She was clawing for control. What she doesn't know, what she still doesn't realize, is that the house she lives in, the one she's always called hers, isn't really hers at all. In 4 years, when the trust converts, it will legally belong to me. And when that day comes, I already know what I'll do. Sell it. Every wall, every photo, every fake memory embedded in the wood and plaster, gone. Because here's the truth I finally accepted, you don't owe loyalty to people just because you share blood. Family isn't who raised you. Family is who protects you when the world falls apart. And they had their chance. They blew it. Summer rolled in heavy and fast that year. The kids were out of school, and we spent more time at the lake than ever before. I rented a small cabin for weekends, just the 3 of us. No phones buzzing, no manipulation, no guilt-laden messages. Just stillness. Eventually, they stopped trying to reach me. Not because they finally understood, but because they realized I wasn't bluffing. The money was gone. The house was slipping away. And I wasn't coming back to play the role of fixer ever again. For the first time in years, I felt free. And then came the last crack, the one that sealed everything for good. Jenny called from a number I didn't recognize. And for some reason, I answered. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe I wanted to hear her voice, to confirm for myself that nothing had changed. At first, she was soft. Gentle. She said she didn't understand how things had gotten this bad, that mom wasn't doing well, that maybe I should just come by. Just consider it. I stayed silent. And like clockwork, her tone shifted. The edge came back into her voice. She called me selfish. Said I was destroying the family over nothing. Over a misunderstanding. Said I was vindictive, punishing everyone over a single document. A single document. As if it all began there. As if it wasn't years of lies, manipulation, and control. As if I hadn't been used and discarded 100 times before. I hung up while she was still mid-sentence. Later that week, my daughter came into the kitchen holding her tablet. She'd been watching old family videos I had transferred from DVDs years ago, birthday parties, school plays, camping trips where dad cooked on the fire and mom complained about the bugs. Her eyes were red, her voice small when she asked. Could we just visit for a little while? Even outside? Just to say hi? I looked at her and said, no. Not now. Not ever. She didn't argue. But I saw it in her face, a quiet realization. That I meant it. That this wasn't a tantrum or a grudge. This was forever. That night, I pulled the old photo albums out of the closet. The ones mom had made, pages of birthdays, Christmas mornings, awkward school photos. I sat at the table flipping through each one, and then I carried them out to the fire pit. Watched the pages curl and blacken in the flames. I didn't feel sadness. Not even relief. Just clarity. Later, I pulled up an old voicemail I'd kept, Dad's voice, from right before he passed. I'd saved it without even thinking, but that night I played it again. Take care of your kids. That's the only legacy that matters. He was right. So I made a final decision. I changed our last names. Not for the kids, just for me. Quietly, legally. I went back to my grandfather's original surname, the one before Ellis Island shortened it, before it got buried under decades of guilt and control. No ceremony. No announcement. Just a clean break. They don't know where we live now. We moved that fall. Smaller town, closer to my job, closer to the lake. We built new routines, met new neighbors. And for the first time in years, I don't feel like I'm living a life borrowed from someone else's script. The kids adjusted faster than I expected. They still ask questions sometimes, why we don't see grandma, or uncle, or Aunt Jenny. And I answer them honestly. Because we don't visit people who try to hurt us. And that's always enough. They never ask twice. They already know, summer faded into fall, and for the first time in years, life felt steady. Simple. The cabin weekend stretched into months, the school year began, and not once did my kids mention grandma or the rest of them. I thought the chapter had closed for good. But then, last week, life tossed me another curveball. My daughter came home, clutching a letter. Not addressed to me, but to her. My stomach dropped the second I saw the handwriting. Shaky cursive. Postmarked from my mother's town. Inside was a single sheet of lined notebook paper, folded into a neat square, like something slipped through a locker. The handwriting was unmistakable. My mom's. It said, I was wrong. I'm sorry. You're right. We broke trust and I broke your little girls. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know I realize now. Grandma. No threats. No manipulation. No guilt woven between the lines. Just a confession. For the first time in more than a year, my daughter looked at me and asked, can I write back? My gut twisted. Every instinct screamed trap. It was too neat, too carefully phrased, like a chess piece sliding into position. But then I saw her face, saw that it wasn't about me at all. This was her choice. Her voice. So I told her, write what's in your heart. That evening, we sat at the kitchen table. She wrote carefully, pressing hard enough to etch the words into the page. Thank you for your letter. I miss you sometimes. I feel safe here with Dad. I hope you can find happiness, too. Love, Emma. When she handed it to me, I hesitated. Part of me wanted to shred it, to control the outcome the way my mother always had. But that would have been repeating the very cycle I swore I'd end. So I sealed it. Mailed it. No return address. Just her words, carried away. Later that night, I sat in the quiet, thinking about forgiveness. It isn't a gift to hand out like candy. It's a choice. A conscious decision to stop letting their actions dictate your life. And in that moment, I saw it, the second twist. The first was the letter. The second was realizing I didn't need to respond out of anger or control anymore. I had earned the right to choose clarity instead. Protection. Peace. This doesn't erase the past. It doesn't undo what they did. But maybe it shifts what comes next. I know my mother might never change. My brother, my sister, they probably won't either. But my daughter drew a line of her own, a healing one. And I didn't have to fight for it. She claimed it herself. I don't know what happens from here. The door isn't open, but a message made it through. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. So this is where it ends. Or maybe, just maybe, this is where something new begins.